The first thing I'm going to pull up actually is from Indeed. So let's go ahead and share this on the screen for you guys. And like I said, I mean, you know, this whole thing at QNT and this particular event called API Days 2024, no, not EBA Day. This is a new thing. I believe it's on the 18th and 19th coming up in London, England. It just makes sense that QNT or Quant Network would be there. You're going to hear talks about Dr. Luke Riley and giving a, I guess you could say, his pitch. But it's more than just a pitch. It's more like, here, we already given our pitch in the past. Check out what we have done in regards to APIs. And that's something that's always mentioned when it comes to Quant all the time, right? We're not oblivious to that. So consider sticking around to the end of the outline. And yeah, let's just simply get into this. This is from Indeed. So we're going to start off with this. This is Adi Ben Ari. He's a founder and CEO at Applied Blockchain. Why is this important for your understanding? Well, basically, I want you guys to understand that when you see things posted on Indeed, a lot of times they're not really posted on X. Sometimes they are, but he pointed out some of the recent published papers that outline views on cryptocurrencies and, of course, blockchain. I thought I'd get into this briefly for you guys. I did think it was a big deal. Quant Papa feels as though it was a big deal. Shout out to him for providing some of the research, but it goes on to mention, specifically speaking, that confidence in the technology that transfer money is inseparable from confidence in money itself. As the world moves faster into digital realms, the bank is signaling that if central bank money doesn't keep pace with innovations like cryptocurrencies and blockchain, we might see settlements or those activities shifting away from traditional systems to private assets, and that a move like this could challenge financial stability. So where do we go from here? Well, the bank, as in the Bank of England, is also actively encouraging experimentation with blockchain technology, particularly in scenarios where payments are backed by central bank money. This could be, leading to things that are be faster, more cost effective, more highly efficient, and so on. But the bottom line is tokenized deposits. How many times have we mentioned that over the course of the year? Stable coins. Stick around for the Jasmine segment about that. And also central bank digital currencies and more. The Bank of England is taking very early steps to ensure traditional banking can coexist and integrate with emerging blockchain tech. All right. Is there a reference to the RLN? There is. Global financial institutions are building, testing, and integrating blockchain infrastructure. And they have examples of the UK that includes, of course, UK Finance, the RLN, which is the Regulated Liability Network, and so on. But it aligns blockchain's potential with existing regulations, at least over there. Now, some people ask, what about over here in the United States? Well, obviously, that's still a challenge. But the bottom line is, where do we go from here? Well, here's the answer. You also will see that the BIS put out a statement September 4th, just yesterday. This comes from Cecilia Skingsley. Cecilia states that she discussed how central banks can harness technology like tokenization, even AI, and describes 5 key lessons learned from running the BIS Innovation Hub. Now, I'll take a pause, come back into the screen for you guys for just a brief moment. Recently, I've been following some of my chopped up deep dive videos. We have discovered one thing that was not disclosed to the public, or maybe originally it was, but it was taken away. And that was the connection of, for example, Quant to the military. Now, some of you guys watch these live shows, and you only watch live shows, and you do not watch my recorded videos. In one of my last recorded videos, look for the thumbnail that says military top left, because it cites a particular company that's part of the mix. So for one, there's Trudera, and it has Quant written all over it. And if you go to that site, it doesn't exist anymore, and it was taken down. Why is that? It's the military connection. And of course, in the outline, I show you proof about that connection. So we've cited things about NATO. That's one thing, but to literally see the words written military, right, for military use only, and then have that taken away, I thought that was a really, really big deal. Moving forward into this, check this out. She goes on to mention, quote, an innovation hub within a central bank is key to create public goods. It can be perceived as risky and countercultural to how central banks traditionally work, but it is possible to be cautious in some parts of an institution while allowing for experiments in another part. Why am I showing this? Because again, if you look at this statement from Adi Ben Ari of the Bank of England, it is in line with what she is stating. And as we know, through Project Rosalind, Quant Network, and also R3, right, was also selected. What else do I have? Well, let's take you over to the news from yesterday. Quant and APIDAYS 2024 by Rachel Bowe, or Bach. Don't know the right way to pronounce it. I apologize. But this statement on the far right from her, APIs have become a reliable and flexible component for companies looking to build smarter platforms, streamlining their business processes. For a lot of us, it seems as though, like, yeah, we know about this, keep beating that drum, but you got to keep in mind it's the statements that are brought to us. So at this year's APIDAYS London conference, Quant, yes, you read right, Quant will be showcasing how they use APIs to enable interoperable, hassle-free blockchain development. And they go on to mention that in today's rapidly evolving landscape, business landscape, APIs have become reliable, flexible component of companies looking to build smarter platforms, streamline their business processes. Does that not match up with what the BIS just mentioned? Absolutely. Understanding its terminology. Okay, so over the last 2 days, hundreds of IT and technological professionals are going to meet to discuss topics ranging from API development and its relationship to AI. Do we finally get an example of what we see in the past that's been hidden from the Quant network, whereas, you know, the things mentioned about Trudera or some of those other key connections to AI? Maybe we finally do, but maybe they only give us just a little tiny hint of that due to NDAs. But that's worth pointing out. The other thing I want to jump into basically is this right here. And this event coming up on September 18th, you will see Dr. Luke Riley apparently delivering a presentation on how we can deliver on the promise of standardization with APIs. Now, for some people, that goes right past your head because you may think that that is not a big deal. Understand, it's a huge deal. And I know I use the example quite often when it comes to all this, when it comes to plugging in a power cord or your phone's power outlet, you know, those are different types of standards. If you take those cords to Europe and try to plug them in, you have to get an adapter. Again, standards. So when we talk about building on blockchain, you have to keep in mind there's all sorts of different types of standards. But what sets apart Quant from the rest of the pack? Because let's face it, guys, there's ones out there that claim that they have interoperability, and this is no FUD. I think these are good projects. Number one, Near, right? Near boasts interoperability. And for example, Corium boasts interoperability, but they still require a particular blockchain. Quant in itself is blockchain agnostic. It can settle in XRP, it can settle in XDC, and all these other particular ones. If there isn't one on your project's list, your company's list, you let them know, and then they will take the actions to make it, of course, interoperable. That is game changer because that means that instead of spending months or maybe a year on development to make things interoperable with that particular blockchain, you are what they call first mover advantage. You can jump right into what you need to do, get things done faster, and it saves you and your company time and money. But we already been there, already done that. So why is this a big deal, and why am I bringing it to you guys? Well, the other thing I want to get into is that you see here that the workshop is going to allow the APIs of Overledger to build, again, back to what I was talking about, cross-chain application capable of interacting with smart contracts, transfer data across different blockchains. They also cover the hurdles of developing standardized blockchain API and Quant's approach to the problem. Again, think about how many different projects are going to show up, pitch what they have, and so on. Who will be the one that stands out? I think Dr. Luke Riley realizes that, and Quant will definitely stand out. You really see the examples in terminology, whether it's from that key guy from the Bank of England or that lady from the BIS. The terminology simply matches up. All right, what else do I have in regards to this? Well, check this out. Decided to dig a little bit more deeper in regards to this. So here is something I'm going to take you over to. And basically, what I want you guys to understand is, yes, Quant is in competition with Finale, but guess what? I also feel with the research I provided you guys that they're, I guess you could say, like partnered with them, because there's lots of citations of it. And you've seen this gentleman on the right side of your screen. I'll full screen this. You've seen him, for example, being interviewed with big key players, right? Dominic Hobson. You've seen him share the stage with leaders from R3. You've seen him talking side by side with Gilbert Verdi and Quant. But it's even what they bring to the table. And we aren't going to get a deep dive about this, but in the background on the screen about the company overview, it says, backed by a consortium of global financial institutions with equal shareholding, 16 banks, 3 FMIs, and Finality's initial target jurisdictions, but headquartered in London. Talks about what they do, but it's an interconnected world that also involves, like what we've seen with Quant. On the bottom right, you even see Wisdom Street located there. As we know, Stellar also can connect to the RLN, and we understand their connection to Wisdom Street. This isn't a Stellar segment, but that's worth pointing out. The next part I want to get into is understanding back to this guy, Adi Ben Arai. He goes on to mention that he was at an event not that long ago in regards to Deloitte featuring Finality International, but basically Finality started out around the same time as Applied Blockchain, and also had Lloyd's Banking Group. And by the way, that was his former employer, but it had key sponsors alongside, which is Santander and UBS. As we know, Santander, you got a great Quant partnership with them. You can look into that yourself. But again, it's these connections to Bank of England. And understanding that it's not just them, it's also Quant Network. So I wanted to jump into this because when I got more into it, it talks about, for example, how Finality interacts with other initiatives in the space, right? Not just themselves. And of course, what does it say right there? The RLN. So this whole notion from some of the other people, I'm not going to mention their names, stating that this stuff is going to go to zero. Well, say what you want. Quant is not going to go to zero because, if anything, Finality and Quant both are part of the RLN. When we talk about interoperability, it's even reaching across, as the saying goes, it's not just party aisles, it's your competitors' aisles, and working with your competitors to achieve one common goal, and that is to get rid of silos, walled gardens, and so on. And how so? Well, here's a screenshot. Check this out. Regulatory approach and policy issues. They recognize the same regulatory outlooks as Quant does. And it says on the screen that, basically speaking, Bank of England's approach to innovation and money and payments. And you see here the same type of things that Quant wants to accomplish and do. But who is the one that has more of the connections? Or who is the one that allows us in retail have access to things to purchase? Well, the answer obviously is Q&T through the token, but that brings us to the next particular part, because when we get into APIDAYS 2024, which happens in 12 days, you will see some real interesting things here. And that is, for one, APIs for a smarter platform and business process. So when I decided to look more into this, I said to myself, all right, get your ticket and so on. I'm not going to buy a ticket and go this thing, but if I was going to, oh man, because guess what? If you're to do this and you're going to jump over to here, you will see that all of these are basically either sold out or closed to the public, like early bird special, early bird ticket, blah, blah, blah. But as you get further down into it, if you were a real big wig, look at this part about a masterclass, unlocking the power of APIs, masterclass on strategy and monetization to discover the secrets. Look at this, guys. This is good stuff. To leverage APIs effectively in your business and strategy with our comprehensive masterclass. A masterclass? Gee, I wonder who would be behind this masterclass. Maybe Dr. Luke Riley? I don't know. Maybe you get a special presentation or appearance from the one and only Gilbert Verdian, but the bottom line is it does seem as though that Dr. Luke Riley will be here. Look at this as well. Learn how to design, deploy, manage APIs to drive innovation and maximize revenue streams. From crafting a robust API strategy to implementing successful monetization models. The course equips you with the knowledge and tools needed to thrive in a digital ecosystem. That is cool. Very, very cool. And if you're wondering, about some of this, I mean, again, author at O'Reilly, entrepreneur at the API economy. Again, Dr. Luke Riley is going to be speaking at this as well. So you better believe they're going to bring it, and they're going to bring it hard, if you ask me. Jumping back to this other part, there's already 1,000 participants, and look at all the big players. JP Morgan. You see, for example, Lloyds, Deutsche Bank. You see, for example, the UK government, Goldman Sachs, IBM, Meta, Google. You see, for example, Morgan Stanley, HSBC. All the big players are here. Amazon Web Services, Deloitte. I mean, I could go on and on about some. Citi, obviously. If you really look into it, all these ones, for the most part, I should say all, but a good portion, are part of what? The RLN, the Regulated Liability Network. Of course they're going to show up to this. Next part I want to jump into. This right here. And this is also good. Who actually spoke at some of these API days before? Well, you have Mark O'Neill from Gartner. You have this lady who is Saham Esodagwi, I can't pronounce that right, from Renault. You have Matthew Auburn, like I mentioned earlier, from Morgan Stanley. You have Jeremy Mason from Lloyds Banking. And then you got some of these other guys from Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan Chase, Jason Kobus. Again, Kate Mockton from Deloitte. Jaya Chikamari from Citi. Again, think about it. All these ones are people or organizations that are part of the Regulated Liability Network. Look it up. All right, this event. So at this event, you see one of the main things posted is about an API initiative, an API security, and you have workshops. So if Quant is API everything, you can imagine what they will showcase over at this particular event. Because when we talk about regulations, we talk about the regulators, we talk about the big money. The big money is clearly all meeting up here. So Dr. Luke Riley, him showcasing this, if anything, potentially doing I don't know, maybe a masterclass. Again, I don't have answers for that, but it does seem as though that could possibly be a thing. But even if it wasn't, maybe Quant Network feels as though they have already proven themselves. How about having other businesses recognize why they want to standardize some of the APIs? So look at this, putting API or AI into API security. I mean, think about why Quant's authorized stands out, right? All right, what about another thing in regards to this? We have, for example, reimagining API onboarding with guided walkthroughs. So a lot of focus, obviously, on APIs, whether it's Quant bringing that or some of the other ones. Say what you want. You could appreciate that Quant definitely is going to bring it. All right, a little bit more about this, because I did mention Dr. Luke Riley. I'm going to full screen this as well. This is good stuff. It says specifically, don't miss our expert sessions. So when they mentioned the whole thing about master classes, I'm thinking to myself, I don't think I'm too far off. So on September 18th, Dr. Luke Riley, head of innovation, will present and answer questions on standardizing the world of blockchain with APIs. So yeah, that's definitely a real thing. All right, in conclusion, as we wrap this up, because we definitely need to, here's some of my own notes of why this is significant and why I'm bringing it to you. So for Quant, where does it really, like, how can it really separate them? Well, if Luke Riley is going to pitch this, or, you know, lead this workshop, if you will, highlighting Quant, especially when it comes to APIs and standardization, we have to understand what will it mean for Quant and Q&T more specifically moving forward. Well, it's the significance of Dr. Luke Riley's presentation at London API Days 2024. More in particular, you know, the 18th. Dr. Luke Riley's presentation at London API Days 2024 is significant in many ways, but it's understanding that can Quant Network reach the broader blockchain industry by showcasing what they have already done. As we know, we have had over 2 years of testing in many different projects, whether it's Roslyn, Agora, you know, Project Hamilton, and so on. But it's understanding a focus on standardizing the world of blockchain with APIs, but of course that has several implications. And that leads to interoperability. it's got to get mentioned, so I'll point it out again, especially to the new people. So APIs, if you weren't aware of it, API stands for Application Programming Interfaces. Those serve, I should say, as bridges in themselves between, of course, different systems. By standardizing blockchain APIs, Quant Network aims to create a more interconnected and interoperable, of course, blockchain ecosystem. Again, ecosystem. Think about that for a second. All right, how many projects do I cover, as well as other people? Shout out to Vibra, who's here tonight. And that is, the blockchain is trying to get other people to come into their particular project to build on their blockchain to build out an ecosystem. But Quant separates itself from the pack because they're blockchain agnostic. So they incentivize all current blockchains, whether it's Stellar, whether it's Ripple, you name it, to have that level of interoperability by standardizing those APIs built on those particular blockchains because they can talk to each other. Quant aims to create more interconnected and interoperable blockchain ecosystem, but it also means that different blockchains can communicate each other, which can interact seamlessly, enabling more complex and efficient applications. Say what you want. I mean, that's where it's always been. Not having walled gardens, not having silos. Which brings me to the next point. We're going to get to 4 total points. So this is number 2. Accessibility. Standardized APIs can make blockchain technology more accessible for developers and, of course, even businesses. Notice how I said businesses, because a business can come in and build and not even technically have real true developers because it requires zero coding. Quant takes care of all that. So would this lead to a wider range of applications and increase adoptions for blockchain solutions? I think the answer is yes, which brings me to the next part, and that is the efficiency of all this. At the end of the day, we could talk about what it could speculatively do, but is it really efficient? The answer is yes. Standardization, as we know, can streamline development processes and reduce the time and resources required to build blockchain applications. That's the whole point of one of the main selling points of Quant. How many times have we seen interviews of Gilbert Verdin talking about that? Like, oh yeah, we met with such and such business and we told them, you know, hey, through Quant, you're going to be able to do this like in 6 months instead of taking like 10 months to a year to do the same thing. Well, that means this leads to, of course, innovation. And as we saw, whether it's from the best of the Bank of England, one of the key things that was mentioned was innovation. Do you have something that's legitimately innovative moving forward for everybody can talk to each other and have harmonization? The answer is yes. A more standardized and interconnected blockchain ecosystem can foster innovation by providing developers with a common foundation to, of course, build upon. That is a win. Notice even with Stellar, that's a win because it's only 3 lines of code for Sorbonne. Now, in regards to all this, for Quant, Q&T, we understand that Dr. Luke Riley is going to be pitching this or showcasing it. Well, would this presentation show the utmost importance in regards to showcasing the Overledger or APIs? Well, I think so, because it's in line with the company's mission to provide universal interoperability layer for, of course, blockchains. Back to what I was originally talking about earlier, the plug, the connect. Our American plug doesn't fit into the European one, but with Quant, you're building on, for example, the infrastructure, the foundation for building on blockchain, an interconnected world. So say what you want, standardization, the significance of that is important because Quant is definitely positioning themselves as a key player in shaping the future of the industry. But more importantly is what it could lead to, which would do what? It would increase the demand for the Q&T tokens. Isn't that the point for us? Because at the end of the day, if it wasn't the point, then what the heck are we invested into? So yes, it would increase the demand for Q&T tokens because those are used to power the Quant network through the Overledger, especially when it comes to the, you know, the pricing, the leasing, if you will, of the Overledger per month. and of course facilitate interoperability. I mean, say what you want, we've shown examples of, yep, you have to have a certain amount of QNT, as in those tokens, to use the overledger, whether you're small, medium enterprise or you're some of the big giant conglomerates. But in summary, don't get it twisted. Dr. Luke Riley's presentation at London API Days 2024 is definitely pivotal, and it's going to be a big moment for Quant Network. A lot of people out there, I'm sure, that do research as well are going to take snippets from that particular one and see, what panned out from it. But for me, it highlights the company's commitment to advancing blockchain technology and its potential to play a central role in creating a more interconnected, robust, and standardized blockchain ecosystem. So that was one of the main things I wanted to bring to you guys. If you actually listen to that particular segment, do me a favor and simply type into the comments this, and that is API 2024, and I'll know that you listened to the outline. Know what you have, know what you hold. The research trumps FUD 110%.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.